let's talk about moving things a little bit more precisely than just eyeballing it. So I have everything in the general location of where I'd like it to be, but that's not really going to cut it when we have a really small space and every inch really counts. The best way that I have found to move things is to go to a top view and then go to parallel projection so that I can really see the plan view of these things. So let's head to Camera, Standard Views, Top, and then back to Camera, Parallel Projection. And now I can see that I really don't have a great space plan. I may want to tuck this into the corner a bit more. I definitely need to move my bed back and I need to align these nightstands. So let's start with the bed and then we'll work our way around. And sometimes it's helpful to see where the windows and the door openings are as well. So you can go to View, Face Style, View, Face Style, X-Ray, or you can search that in the search bar as well. So if we go to X-Ray, we can click that on and off. I do have a custom shortcut set for that we set in later classes as well. So now we can see the windows, but I'd like to center the bed on this wall. And every edge in SketchUp has center points. So if I grab my tape measure tool and I hover over the edge of this in the center area, you can see it snaps to that midpoint there. So it's snappy and it turns to a circle. So that's the general location that I'm trying to center this with. However, this bed, the shape of it is a lot more organic. So it's harder to find like the center points. It looks like that one might be a center point. So that one's good to reference. But if you have something that doesn't have a straight edge on it, like these pillows, and you're trying to center them, it's trickier to find the center. So let's talk about another strategy for that. I'm going to pre-select the bed because this is the only thing that I want to move. If I don't pre-select it and I accidentally hover over and click on the walls, I have now moved my walls away from everything else. So I don't want to do that. Always pre-select what you're going to move. So hit your space bar and click on it. Now I can activate my move tool, M for move, and I can kind of see the general location of the center. And again, I do have the center point to click on. But if you don't have that, you can hover. You see those little grips here on the corners. If I tap my Command key, if you look in the bottom there, it says Command. Command equals cycle through grip types. So if I hit my Command, there's my center point there. But I also get center points on the bounding box here. So the bounding box gives me those dots that I can then reference. So again, I already have a blue dot here because of this edge. But if you don't have that, you can move your cursor over the object and tap your Command or Alt if you are on a Windows machine. So always look in the lower left-hand corner there. I do get a different context menu if I go off of the object. And when I head back to it, it says Command equals cycle, off equals autofold. So keep your cursor over the object and start tapping through those different grip types. Now I have that center point here. I'm going to click release. And I'm going to move it from left to right only. I'm not going to try and get it up against the wall quite yet. Just going to move it left to right. With a lot of things, it takes a 3-point turn, basically. So I'm going to hit my right arrow key to lock it to red, because right now I'm just planning the centerness of it. And then I'll move it back against the wall. All right, so I was almost there. I was about 2 inches off. If you look in the lower corner, as I move side to side, it snaps to the center point of that wall. So I'm just letting it know this is the point that I would like to line up with this point. And I only want to move it right to left. As soon as I tap my right arrow key again, it unlocks the red, and I actually run the risk of sinking it down below the floor because it went basically like this. And if that has ever happened to you, it's very frustrating because you just worked on getting it on the floor. So that's why it's important to only move it side to side at first, and then you can move it front to back here. So again, grab that center point, click release, your move tool on the center point in the bed. Hit your right arrow key, move left to right here, and then snap to that center point. And you may need to zoom in to see it move at all and look in the lower right-hand corner. Click release to set it. Now we're going to move it straight back. And in this case, I think I want to just bring it like an inch or two off of the wall. So I'm going to click back on that center point, and then hit my left arrow key. That locks it to the green. And the reason for that, again, is so that we don't accidentally sink it below the floor. So I'm going to undo, go back to top, grab that center point with my move tool. It's pre-selected. I'll hit the left arrow key, left arrow, and I'll bring it right back to the wall. And I can eyeball it if I like at this point, just kind of bring it right about there. Or if I want a very specific point distance from the wall, I can just go ahead and set it on the wall and then click again and bring it straight back and type the distance. You can see in the distance box, lower right-hand corner, I'm going to type 2 enter. And that brings it 2 inches from where it was before. So again, I just set it against the wall along that green axis, and then I hit M for move, and I'm just bringing it right back along the green and typing 2 enter to bring it 2 inches off the wall. All right, now let's move these nightstands here. I may even just delete one of them because I'm going to get one of them right where I want it to be, and then I'll just use the flip tool again. So I'll delete that. And for this one, because my bed does have this rail here, I don't want to push it too far against the wall because I want whoever's laying here to be able to access it. So it's actually in a pretty good spot. I might want to move it back just slightly again, right along the green. I want to move it, lock it in with the left arrow. I might want to move it to right about there. And I am also going to measure it. So I'm going to bring it right up against the bed. I'll hit my right arrow key so that it doesn't sink below the ground. And then I'm going to move it back. So back against the red, and I'm going to move it. Let's try 3 inches or 4 inches. I think that that's about right for me. So you can override that by just typing in the distance. Always waiting for your input, and you can override the last distance that you'd like just by typing it if it was the last thing you typed. So 3 enter, 4 enter, and so on. So I think 4 is what I want, and that's great. All right, so now I can pre-select, again, that nightstand, the bedside table, grab my flip tool, and I'm looking for the red. It's a little bit tricky, so I may orbit a little bit, grab that red, click and drag. We did this in the flip lesson, and tap that Option or Control key and meet up right with the center of the wall. So I'm dragging this red box here. I had already tapped my Option key, and then I let go, and it flips the nightstand and copies it at the same time. And it's using equal distance. So now everything is nice and tidy. Same distance from here to here, here to here, because we are using symmetry. So now we can go back to perspective. I'm going to go to Camera, Perspective, and then turn off X-ray mode. So View, Face Style, X-ray. All right, looks pretty much the same as before, I know, but now it's properly planned out. And again, if it's a really tight space, this is going to matter. And if you're taking a floor plan from this 3D model, if you're presenting it, it's going to look kind of funky if everything is a little bit off. Now I want to put in some artwork. Let's head back to the 3D warehouse, hit Command or Control S to save your file, and click on that first blue icon. Let's search for artwork. Now, the artwork in the 3D warehouse is somewhat limited, so you may want to bring in your own. We do cover adding artwork in the 3D modeling class, adding custom art. But for now, let's just go ahead and pick something from the warehouse. I'm going to scroll down, and what I'm looking for is this artist here. So it's Japandi artwork. If you need to type Japandi in to the search to get to this, you can do that. But as a H is the one that we're going to use today, and we're going to grab 2 of their pieces. So choose any 2 you'd like. I think I'm going to choose this one and this. Actually, I'm going to grab this one and maybe this one, these 2. So I'll click the download icon here. Of course, again, you can pick a different one. And then I might even bring it out here. Click release and set it on the ground because I'm going to bring in another one back to the warehouse and download. Okay. And set it down here. So I'm just going to, I can see that the click point here is on the bottom. So I'm going to click on the bottom of this one to set it down. And the reason for this is I just want to get them lined up because I'm going to group them together and then place it on the wall. So I think I will just move it about, let's go 6 inches, maybe 10 inches from here. And then I'm going to group these together. So they're already groups or components. Let's see, they are components. So we can just make another bounding box around them by selecting them both at the same time. So again, look in the lower left-hand corner, it says Shift equals add subtract. So if I hold down Shift, I get that add subtract, so I can add to my selection. Now I can right-click, make group, and it puts them both in a bounding box. And I can move them as one. They are obviously not oriented the correct way. I am going to use my move tool to rotate them like this. And I actually can't remember which way is up. I think it might be the other way. I might go back to respect the orientation here. So, I got it right. Okay. If you need to use the flip tool to flip it, you can do that as well. Happy with that. I'm going to grab my move tool. And again, I'm being strategic about where I grab it. I don't want to grab it by the front because if I line up the front of it with the front of my wall, I'm getting what is called Z-fighting. And that is not going to be a happy place for me. That just means that there is a face here and a face on the wall, and it's showing us a little bit of both. They are on the exact same spot. So instead, we need to grab it by the back corner of the artwork here of the frame. And then I can place it in the general location. All right, so obviously it's a little bit too big for the space. So I'm going to use the scale tool to scale it down a bit. So I'm going to click here on this guy or the letter S for scale. Now this corner here, the corner grip is what I'm looking for. The outside corner grip, you can see there's a lot of different options for scaling. We can scale up, across, and from the corner. So let's just grab the corner here and bring it into about, like right there. I'm just going to eyeball it. Maybe a little bit less. All right. So now I'm going to hit my space bar. I'm done scaling it and take a look. Now, I can obviously see that it's a little bit off, but if I try and eyeball it, it still might be just slightly off. So I'd rather use the move tool, and I can hover over the face here and again, cycle through those grips. And because these two are grouped together, it's using the bounding box. So I can see that there's a center point on the bounding box there. So cycle through those grips, Command or Alt, and there's that center point that I'm looking for on those bounding box. So click release on that center point, and then I'm going to move from side to side. So hit my right arrow key, side to side, and then hover over that center point in the wall behind it. Click release. Now the center point of this group is matched up with the center point of the wall. And now that I have it centered, I want to make sure that I have the correct height. So if you are trying to place something at a certain height, it can be helpful to give yourself a guideline. So I'm going to tap T for tape. And let's say we want the center of it to be at 5'5". So I'm going to type 5'5", enter, and then hover over the center with my move tool. So pre-select M for move, and I'm looking for the center. Oh, there it is, midpoint. And if I can't find it, of course, I can use those cycle grips. So tap your Command key or your Alt key. You can find the center of the group instead. So now I'm going to hit the up arrow to lock it to blue. So now it snaps to that guideline, click release. So now I know that the center of my artwork is at 5'6". If you are trying to get the top of it at a certain height, obviously you can grab it by the top as well. M for move, and then hit your up arrow to lock it. Up arrow to lock it. So these multi-step moves where you're locking it to red, green, and blue are really going to help you move things more precisely. Once I'm done with my guidelines, I can go to Edit, Delete Guides. As you can see, the Move tool plus the Command or the Alt key is really important for moving organic shapes and finding those center points, lining it up with another point in the model using your right, left, and up arrow keys. So head back to the 3D warehouse and find some other pieces, either using image search or typing in a certain search term, and put your own spin on this space from here out. Maybe find a different piece of art, some plants, a rug. Put your own spin on it. I'm going to put a few more things in mine, but I would love to see how yours turns out. So feel free to grab a screenshot at the end after you put your textures in and send it my way. I'd love to see the creativity that everybody comes up with. To wrap up the 3D warehouse section of this course, we're going to purge the model in the next lesson to keep our file lightweight.